Fellowship. We are so glad that you've joined us today for worship at UUFLB. My name is Pamela Floodman, and I will be serving as the worship associate this morning. And for those of you who are very astute, you will have noticed either in the email invitation or in the order of service that's on the back bench that I am not Mike Radcliffe, who was planning to be the worship associate this morning. Unfortunately, Mike wasn't able to be here on short notice, and so he's asked me to fill in, and I was very happy to do so. As we begin our service, we acknowledge that the land on which we join together in worship is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Ahashiman and the Tongva tribes. And we acknowledge these indigenous peoples as the traditional land caretakers who claim their place and who act as stewards always to protect their ancestral lands and the earth as they have for the past thousands of years. We offer our gratitude to the First Nations for their care of the earth and for their teachings. And with humility, we commit to learning and working on behalf of the earth and on behalf of justice. Each Sunday, in this fellowship and anywhere there is a service held in a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a chalice is lit. The flaming chalice is the symbol of our faith. So if you've joined us this morning by Zoom, I invite you to light a chalice within your home as I light the chalice here within the fellowship. We light our chalice as a symbol of the light within us and the life that flows through the world around us. It is our beacon as we search for truth. It is the warmth in our hearts for love. And it is the energy that propels us to action. May we be kindled by our time together. These chalice lighting words were written by Brian Lee, who is a Unitarian Universalist and helps to lead the climate action team at the UU Fellowship of Corvallis in Oregon. And I love the imagery of this chalice lighting, that the chalice is a symbol for the life flowing through the world around us, a beacon in our search for truth, and a source of energy propelling us to action. And I think that this concept of life flowing through us and around us is very much captured in the topic for today's service, enough. So today we are very fortunate to be visited again by the Reverend Dr. Terry LePage, who is a frequent guest speaker here with us at UUFLB, and we're working to identify the next date when Reverend Terry will be with us after today. She loves to inspire people through preaching and is an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ. Reverend LePage has served as a transitional minister in Southern California and previously worked as a research chemist. She currently works for the Deep Adaptation Forum and is a member of the Irvine United Congregational Church. She also in 2018 became active with C.L.U.E, which I know many of us are familiar with. C.L.U.E stands for the Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice. Reverend Terry eagerly supports low-wage workers, immigrants, and incarcerated people because of Jesus' teaching and example. And she lives in Irvine with her husband, Scott, and is the author of a book, which I know Reverend Terry has read to us from previously. I'm not sure if she'll be reading from this book today, but she's the author of a wonderful book entitled The Eye of the Storm, Facing Climate and Social Chaos with Calm and Courage. And in describing today's service, Reverend Terry wrote, "We live in a society where it seems nothing is enough. We are told more is always better. So let's play with the idea of enough. How can it empower us? How can it bring us peace? How can it move us toward deeper relationship and respect toward our earth home? This concept of enough speaks to me deeply. In my Swedish heritage, there is a concept of lagom, and I'm not sure anyone else here knows enough Swedish to have heard the word lagom before. Robert does. Lagom very loosely translates to enough, but it really means sort of just the right amount, not too much, not too little. And I first learned this word when I was studying Swedish with a small group here in Orange County. And very quickly I saw how this concept really is reflected in my ancestral roots. There's a common Swedish saying, lagom är bäst, which to me, I mean, it means enough is best, but it really means keeping a balance is best and the best way to approach life. And I think that this concept, as I understand it, relates to what we're going to be grappling with today. And it also relates to the centering thought, which Mike and Rachel picked for our service today. So I'm going to give a minute as we wait for the centering thought to be pulled up on the screens by Dawn. The centering thought today are words from Lao-Tzu, and let's give a minute for the words to be up on the screen. Or perhaps we'll move without the words on the screen. I like to have the words on the screen because one of the things, and it was Barbara Williams Pemberton, who was a long-term member in this church, taught me that it's so important for us not just to say words as we're in the worship service, but to really listen to them and think about them and allow them to be part of ourselves. And for me, seeing the words as well as hearing them is a part of that. But I think we're having some technical challenges today, probably due to me stepping in at the last minute. So I will just read the centering thought for you from Lao-Tzu. And Lao-Tzu wrote, "He who knows that enough is enough will always have enough." There are so many who come together each week to make it possible for us to gather for worship here on Sunday mornings and to continue our work and community throughout each week. So I want to give many thanks. There's the centering thought, lovely. I'll let you read that as well as we're moving on with some of the announcements here. I do want to say a huge thank you to our Zoom and our audiovisual techs, everyone who takes care of the building, ensures we have beautiful music for our service, and works behind the scenes, the dedicated members of our board and our worship committee, and especially everyone who steps in when there's something extra that's needed. This has come up for certain during the summer when some of us have been out, and others within the community step in to fill the needs that are usually handled by other members of the community. This is an amazing community, and we are grateful for all of the members and the friends of this congregation. Thank you all. At UUFLB, we are a welcoming congregation with a commitment to work together to make a difference, to build community, and to actively dismantle systemic racism and oppression in all of its forms. So for us, being a welcoming congregation means that whoever you are, whomever you love, no matter your background or your life experiences, we welcome you to our community of mutual caring and serious intent to grow as spiritual and ethical beings. And really, whatever it is that has brought you here this morning, whatever sincere questions you bring with you today, we are glad that you are here. Unitarian Universalists subscribe to no single religious creed, but have gathered a set of principles that guide us as we build religious community together. The principles that Unitarian and Universalist congregations affirm and promote are on the back of your order of service. And again, if you haven't picked one up, they're on the bench in the back of the sanctuary. They're on the screen now for those with really good vision. They're on the banner that is out in front of our church on Sunday mornings. And they're an important part of how we think about how we move in the world, how we interact with others, and relate, again, very much to the topic of our service today. For our upcoming services, I want to let you know that next Sunday, on the 18th of August, Harry Baya, one of our congregation members, as I understand it, is going to be leading the service next Sunday, and I know we're all looking forward to hearing from Harry again. On the following Sunday, August 25th, Yvette McDonald will be joining us. Yvette is a frequent speaker here. She is an ordained UU minister who's located in Maine. So Yvette will be joining us by Zoom, and she's always an engaging speaker when she joins us. And then on September 1st, Cesar Cardona will be joining us here. On September 8th, it's on the slide, so I think that's now been confirmed. We will be continuing the discussion, the very valuable discussion that we had during the month of July with our Summer Up series. And for those of you who don't know, Summer Up stands for Summer Unique Programming. And this year, what we did during the month of July for our services was to focus on reading together and thinking through and discussing an important book written by Rabbi Danya Ruttenberg, which is called On Repentance and Repair. You can see it there on the screen. This book was chosen this year as the common read for Unitarian Universalist congregations throughout the U.S. And we had wonderful discussion around this book in the month of July. And my understanding, although I was out of town and I missed it, is that when we came to the end of July, the consensus was that it would be really valuable to have one more service in September to come back together again to really put together the discussion and the thoughts and the learning that comes from this book. So we're looking forward to that. Now, throughout the service this morning, if you're here with us in the building, I invite you, if you wish, to come forward and light a candle here in the sanctuary, if you wish, in recognition of whatever you are carrying in your heart as you join us today. It is such a joy for us to have guests on Sunday mornings. So if you are here for the first or second time, we'd love to get to know you. If you are comfortable doing so, I'll invite you to share with us your name, where you are from, and what brings you to visit our church today. So I'm going to start first with the folks on Zoom. Is there anyone on Zoom who's visiting? And I'm seeing the head shake from our audiovisual tech in the back. So I don't think we have anyone on Zoom. Is there anyone here in the sanctuary who's visiting for the first or second time who'd like to introduce us with their name, where they're from, and what brought them to visit us today?
Looks like I'm the only one that's a first timer. My name is Bo, C.L.U.E, and I live in Laguna Beach, and I've been here for 5 years this time. I moved here in 1975. At 25, I'm 74, and I'm here to stay this time. I'm not going anywhere else. I've been here many times on and off through the years, and this is truly paradise. I'm from originally Mississippi, so as you can well imagine, this is perfect weather. Mosquitoes are not as big as hummingbirds. We don't even have them here that I've noticed. And anyway, it's just a joy to find your church. I was walking my wiener dog the other day. I had parked near here, and I just caught. I've been to a Unitarian church before, and I can actually claim the message that you carry in your hearts, and that's why I showed up today.
Wonderful. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome, and I'll just briefly, because the folk on Zoom will not have heard, but briefly, Bo is visiting us today. He lives in Laguna Beach and found us through walking his wiener dog by the church and seeing our list of principles that was listed outside. He's been to UU churches before, and he's originally from Mississippi, but has been in Laguna on and off since 1975, and we're really happy to have you here with us today, Bo. So thank you all for joining us at UUFLB this morning, and we hope that everyone has a chance to stay for a few minutes and enjoy coffee and conversation on the front patio after the service. And for those who are visiting, if you would like to be added to the email mailing list, you can either leave your name on the sheet in the back or leave it with one of us, and we'll get you added to the email list so that you can receive the announcements for upcoming services and other important events like our weekly Zoom at noon conversation discussion series on Mondays at noon. So welcome, everyone. I think now if we could please stand as you are comfortable in body, mind, or spirit as we join our amazing music director, Carol Cole, in singing our opening hymn, number 38, Morning Has Broken. Yes, ma'am.
Did you want Terry to do the...
Oh, I do. Yeah. Thank you, Carol. I do. First, we'll have the call to worship.
Forgot I shouldn't touch that. It's great to be back here, and I go by Terry more than TJ. TJ, if there's another Terry in the room, which I don't think there is. And I want you to know that it's the first anniversary of my book has passed, and it's available on the web for free. If you want a paper copy, you have to pay me, but I can give you the information after the service. And the chalice is lit, the words of preparation and welcome are given. So this is a set apart time and place, not because what is sacred requires a set apart time and place, but we are helped by a set apart time and place to connect with the sacred, to remember what matters, to be with one another, to uphold our principles, our values, and our spirits. So I am so glad that you are here with me today to worship. Let us sing. And the opening hymn is number 38, Morning Has Broken.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet is the new fall sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the new sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
Thank you. You may be seated. We will take a moment now to remind ourselves why we come together as a community. And I invite you to read these words, the words of our unison affirmation, together when and if it feels right for you. And if you've joined us today by Zoom, I invite you to unmute your microphones so that your voice can be joined together with the voices here in the fellowship building. So the words of the unison affirmation are on your screens. There are 2 screens for the unison affirmation. And please join me together in reading these words. May
May
we
we be reminded
Reminded
here
here
of
of
our
our
highest
highest
aspirations
aspirations
and
and
inspired
inspired
to bring
to
our
bring our
gifts
gifts
of
of
love
love
and
and
service
service
to
to
the
the
altar
altar
of
of
humanity.
humanity.
May we
May we know once
Once
again
again
that we are
that we
not
are not
isolated
isolated
beings,
beings,
but
but
connected
connected
in
in
mystery and
mystery and
miracle
miracle
to the
to the
universe, to
universe,
this
to this
community,
community,
and to
and
each other.
to each other.
We have come to a time in our service to briefly share the important events that have touched our lives in the past week. It really is a blessing to be part of sustaining a community where we can share our sorrows and provide for each other the support and care that are essential for all of us, and also where we can share our joys so that they can be amplified and extend beyond ourselves into community. So during this time of sharing our joys and concerns, we will be pausing the recording of the service. And I feel that it is a blessing to give, and as much a blessing to give as it is to receive. This is a self-governing, self-sustaining community, and we recognize it's our responsibility to both give and to receive and to do both well, because our fellowship depends on the love and the generous contribution from our members. We are empowered by the innumerable gifts that all who join us bring to this fellowship. So during this time of offering, we will be passing a basket here within the fellowship, and there's information also on your screen providing additional ways in which you can give.
And for those of you, most of you know this is my grandson Colt, and he and I played a little quick duet recently at our recital here in the church. And so since he was with me this weekend, we thought we'd play it for you all. It's short and sweet. Jazzy.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you, Colt, for being here today and for bringing us your music. So now I'd like to invite you to stand as you are comfortable in body, spirit, or mind, and join us in singing to each other words of sincere gratitude. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Please stand as you are comfortable. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. Thank you.
The reading I have for you today came across my screen as I was pondering, what shall I talk about this Sunday? And it gave me the answer, enough. It's a poem by a poet and spiritual practitioner that I have not met before, Fred Lamott. And it's loosely flavored like the Christian Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art, but not. So it's kind of fun that way. Our Mother, who art in Gaia, brown as loam, nameless as rain, may your presence be a golden void, the absence of the search. Let your family dwell here as a circle, not a kingdom, where spirit and body, heaven and earth mingle in small sacraments of compost and compassion. Be the breath we take, the bread we make each day with our own wrinkled hands. Let our prayer word be enough. For you are the weaver of galaxies into nests for young planets, and you sing the whole sky in a robin's egg. In you, we are always home. Dissolve the veil of judgment, dispel our illusion of impurity, so that we may immerse one another in your bodily fluid of abounding goodness. For thine is the roundness and the brokenness and the healing. Amen.
Now I invite you to join me in a short time of silent meditation. I invite you to sit comfortably in your chair. If you wish, you may want to put your feet on the ground, firmly on the ground, so that you can feel your connection to the earth. If you wish, you may close your eyes and allow your face to relax and soften as you breathe in and out, allowing your shoulders to relax, feeling the tension release from your body. As you breathe in and out, we will have a short time of silent meditation.
If I told you that as a Christian minister with a degree currently of what I call climate chaplaincy. My spirituality's been getting pretty earthy. You wouldn't be surprised, right? And it's so fun to go through your order of worship and see all the times that you honor earth, that you talk about our intrinsic connection. This place really feels home to me, to my spirituality these days. And the prayer I read invites us to connect that earthy spirituality with enough. Let our prayer word be enough. It's not an accident because the everyday world pulls us into the myth of separation. And when we are separated from each other, when we're separate from the sacred, when we're separate from the good earth, we are not enough. And when we are connected, we are. But we forget over and over, and we have to keep reminding ourselves, and we have to keep calling upon those radiant, sustaining connections. Our earth home is enough. Enough for our need and not for our greed, right? And the earth would appreciate it if we could stand up and say, enough already, Western civilization, so-called. You can stop mining every last mountain and logging every last tree, etc. And we as individuals can't change the tide that's happening of destruction. What we can do is offer the affirmation, I am connected to this world. I am one little facet of a gorgeous, radiant, magical earth, and I have enough. I am enough. I do enough. Okay, say it with me, please. I'll say it in the order I like this time. With the help of sacred connection, I am enough. I have enough. I do enough. Thank you. Love a little audience participation. Okay, we don't need more, as our culture keeps telling us. We might need less. Our planet surely needs us to need less. And we can thrive with less when we don't judge our thriving on what those other people have and what the media tells us, but when we just sink into those sacred connections with each other, with our principles, with what we hold sacred, and with the good earth, because we are just a manifestation, a beautiful, wonderful manifestation of that good earth. And enough feels good. It's like a sigh of contentment. What was that Swedish word again? Lagom. Enough. Genug, which is apparently the German word that enough comes from. But we live in a world of striving. More, 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 we need more. And I know better, but I keep falling for it because it's everywhere. It's in the air. And so I've been restless lately. I've been trying some new spiritual practices, trying to remember what's really important, to live my values. And here's one example. I realized I was spending more screen time than I wanted to. And you probably can identify with, it's hard in the middle of binging a drama. I happen to like Korean dramas on Netflix. In the middle of the night, when there's 12 episodes to go, to say, I've watched enough now, time to go to bed. So I had a bright idea. I canceled my Netflix subscription of many years. Whoa, not for the money I was saving, but for the freedom. Well, that worked for 2 weeks, and then I discovered that I could binge watch shows on Amazon Prime just fine, thank you very much. And our family has not given up Amazon, I'm sorry to say. And that's not all my screen time either. You know, I could stop news scrolling, and I want you to know that it's not all doom scrolling in the past few weeks, thanks to certain political events. But most of what I read about the political events is gossip anyways. I could delete Facebook from my phone, but then what would I do with all my free time? Well, you get the idea. So I have this issue with balance, not being content with just sitting and waiting when nothing else emerges. Does anybody else have issues with their media consumption? Am I the only one? It's, you know, it's addictive. They do it to us on purpose. And, you know, being subject to addiction is part of our human condition. Addiction is the disease of more. And you can get so deep in that disease that it can suck the life out of you. It can even kill you. There are programs to address addiction, 12-step programs, and I have participated in a couple of those. And with help, willingness, persistence, a person can recover from the disease of more. But it's an ongoing process. It's not like, oh yay, I'm cured, done. Still, all earthly creatures have limits that they can't exceed, limits that have to be enough, including us humans. And this earthy spirituality is great because it makes those limits not so limiting. We're more than our individual selves. Our lives, human and non-human, are woven together in a sacred whole, and we participate in that. But our modern culture doesn't allow us to see that. We have to come here and remember. We have to have spiritual practices to remember. My father died in 2015, but he lives in me, sometimes in ways that I wish he wouldn't, and sometimes in ways that are truly blessed. My mother lives far away in Santa Cruz, too far away with the state of her health, and she lives in me too. And their fathers and mothers live in me. The goldfinches who flutter into my yard most mornings and entertain me by chirping and nibbling my bushes, they only live for a year or a couple of years, but their tribe has been dancing from branch to branch, chattering merrily for the close to 30 years that I've lived at my home. They've been brightening my mornings. Relationships are not lost when individual lives end. We're bigger than that. When I'm working alone at my desk, the cherry tree that is now my desk keeps me company, gives me beauty and a stable foundation. It's seen a lot. It's seen all my drama. It knows. When the afternoon breeze kicks in and I open the window and the wind tickles my skin, I know I'm not alone. I'm embedded in that web of life that encircles the earth. And when I remember that, I am enough. I have enough. I don't need more. So you know, and we've talked about, that our industrial consumer society is addicted to more. More burning of fossil fuels that are destroying our Goldilocks climate, more mining, and more stuff manufacturing that's just depleting and choking the non-human world. And that is an addiction because we can't stop. I mean, if we stop, there is going to be hell to pay. And yet we must stop. And one way or another, we will stop. We who know can say enough. We don't want more. I can probably get by with less. Let's try it and see what happens. Can we find the courage to say that in public spaces? Stop. Enough is enough. We don't need more. We'll make do with less. And then try to live that out. It's hard. Our industrial consumer society is constantly telling us that we don't have enough. We need a bigger income. Who doesn't? We need a weight loss drug that costs more than a car. We need a European river cruise like our friends, or a new kitchen. We need whiter teeth, for God's sake. There's always something more. We never have enough. So we're told, can you see through it? Can you not fall for it? It's hard. We're herd animals. It's totally normal to think that we need what our friends and family and neighbors have, which is why we need to come here and remember what's really important in this community. So, but even if we can resist all those calls to more, basically capitalism is a Ponzi scheme. We have to make more money just to stay in place. The inflation rate doesn't count the cost of homes, or rentals, or insurance, healthcare, childcare, education. How do we stop this crazy treadmill before we're all off a cliff? I don't know, but I do know this. When the gears start making noise and the economy starts tanking, and it will, we here can make a difference by not panicking. I wrote a book about that, remember? Eye of the Storm. Don't panic. We can trust that it's just reality that everything that grows must reach an end and a downturn. It's normal. And maybe what we lose we didn't need in the first place. And maybe what we have can be enough, just living more simply than we'd planned. When we think we don't have enough, do we panic? When we foresee that we might not have enough in the future, do we worry? The guy I follow, Jesus, had a few words about that. The birds of the air, the lilies of the field, they don't worry. Do we beat ourselves up for not winning the rat race? Do we double down and strive harder and harder for enough and squeeze the joy out of our lives? I mean, you know people who do that, right? What if instead we took a deep breath and tried on the idea that, well, I trust that somehow it'll be enough. I'll have enough. I'll maybe even have enough to share. And most spiritual traditions challenge their followers to trust enough. You know, this not enough problem is not new. They challenge their followers to experiment with doing without in different ways: fasting, skipping meals, observing periods of silence, enough words, thank you, time alone, enough company, thank you. They challenge people to give money and possessions. And as you sing about, you give and receive, and that's how it's enough. They challenge people to live more simply than the culture around them. That would be helpful. And the lessons from those practices can be many, but one lesson is this: I stretch my trust muscles. I can live with less than I'm used to having. And this can be a sacred task, and with my spiritual resources, I am enough, I have enough, I do enough. Monks and nuns have lived this way for centuries, also Quakers and many other earnest people of all different spiritual traditions. Alone, we may not have enough, but we are never alone. The life which is in and through and around us fills us, allows us to trust in enough. I wonder if we could start a new trend, an ethic of enough. And this is what it would look like. Instead of our culture giving applause to the people who have more money, the most money, more stuff, the most stuff, imagine if we could shame the rich, guilt the billionaires. Now, I know shame and guilt are not on our short list of spiritual practices, but you have to enforce ethics somehow. What if we celebrated the givers? What if we celebrated the givers who don't have a lot? The businesses that profit share with their employees, the people who invest their time and money in care for people and the planet. Am I dreaming here? Maybe not, because that's how many cultures before ours, who are trying to survive being taken over by ours, have worked. They shamed the hoarders in their communities. And what is a billionaire if not a hoarder? To give what you have is an act of faith. I have enough to share. Let us have that kind of faith. Let us celebrate that kind of faith. I have enough to give away. Don't tell my husband I told you this. I'm always trying to give away his money. What about doing enough? Now that's a tricky one for me. See, I wrote a book, and it was a big assignment, inspired, so I tell the story. And I worked my tail off for a year. I worked harder than I've ever worked in my life. And I got more efficient than I've ever been in my life. And now I know how to do that. So what excuse do I have for slacking off? Because working harder is better, right? Never mind that the pace was unsustainable to my body and my soul. No sacred voice is whispering in my ear to take on some new big project. Nor am I asking for one, honestly. But I have this gremlin on my shoulder. I think I can call it the Protestant work ethic gremlin. And it's sitting on my shoulder saying, "You slacker, you're not doing enough. You could do so much more to spread the good news, to make a difference in the world." The thing is that not enough gremlin is pretty useless at getting me to do much of anything except feel guilty. I don't do my best work under those conditions. So I'm going to chant at that gremlin. I am enough. I have enough. And I do enough. And I answer to the sacred, not to you. Because sometimes I am tuned in well enough to get a pretty good idea of what actually I'm supposed to do, and it's never saved the world. And any sacred guidance that I can perceive is always so much kinder than that Protestant work ethic gremlin. And it's not very interested in efficiency. It's not hurried. It's not frantic. Anytime something big needs doing, the inspiration and the energy come. I can trust that. But I have to remind myself of it all the time because the Protestant work ethic gremlin is apparently really stuck on my shoulder. I want to remember that we don't need heroic acts to find meaning in our lives. I've noticed that heroism can be ego in disguise. And I have also noticed that the world is knit together by small acts of care. We can own the wonder of creating the things of everyday life. That has value. Tending and being
I think we might have lost the internet feed from the church.
Yeah, mine first.
Freedom is our cry. Set free, we are building, a new way. We are building a new way.
our grandson's there.
In a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. One more time, we are building. We are building a new way.
Oh, dude.
Terry, I think mentioned, can you hear me now? So,
Yep.
yeah, now it's on. Thank you to our friends on Zoom who have rejoined us. And I think Reverend Terry had mentioned during that period of time when you were off Zoom that she's willing to share the sermon, especially since you missed the last words of the sermon. But Reverend Terry, can you list to me again the things that you had us say together at the end of your sermon? Do you want to do it again just so that our Zoom folks can join us?
Yeah. It was the same as at the beginning. With the help of the sacred,
With the help of
Help of the sacred.
I am enough.
I am enough.
I have enough.
I have
I
enough.
have
I
enough.
do enough.
I do
I
enough.
do enough.
Thank you. Now is the time for us to extinguish the chalice here at UUFLB and within our homes with words from the Reverend Brian J. Keeley. The chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each one of you. Carry that flame with you as you leave this place and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you have yet to meet.
May you do a better job of remembering than I do that with the help of the sacred, we are enough, we have enough, and we do enough. And we are never alone. Carry that with you. Live it, draw strength from it, and share it. So be it.
Please join me in singing our closing song, Let There Be Peace on Earth.
Oh, look at it. Oh,
Join hands, that's wonderful too.
oh.
The lyrics are on the screen. Let
Let there be peace.
on earth, let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With earth as our mother, we are family. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my song of love. Take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Have a lovely day. Thank you, Terry.